Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Intern Insights podcast, a show that highlights some of Dow's hardworking interns and/or young talent. I'm your host, Christina Wendling, and we are so excited to be sharing the stories of the young talent that Dow recruits, and we hope that in doing so, our listeners are able to gain some, insights from interns. Today, we are joined by Naya Hodges to talk about her time in the Public Affairs Development Program. Welcome, Naya. Let's get right into it.
Thank you. My name is Naya Hodges. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am currently a Public Affairs Development Program person who's going through the program. So my official title is a Corporate Associate Communication Specialist. And I'm very recently acquainted to this position. Last summer, I did my first internship with Dow in their public affairs department in the brand team. And I was very fortunate enough to stay on for the summer, go on throughout the fall in a co-op position. And that eventually turned into a full-time position where I got to stay at Dow and learn all these amazing things. So I'm hoping I can share my experience and that can help bring some insight to anyone who's curious about what that looks like.
Definitely. And it can look different for a lot of people. So how did you build rapport with your Dow employees and peers during your time as an intern before you became a PADP?
My internship experience was a little unique compared to some other interns probably in the past because I did mine during the summer of 2021, during the era of COVID and everything still being virtual. So I was a full-time virtual employee. So I was not in any of the offices. I was working from home, and it was really hard to connect with people if it wasn't a meeting that was set on my calendar or it wasn't something that was already intentional. You can't have those conversations where you just walk by someone in the hallway, you don't know a face and you just strike up a conversation. It was just whatever was put on my team's calendar, I would meet those people. So it was hard to connect at first, but in the internship program, you're connected with a buddy. And my buddy gave me some really great advice of saying, hey, if you have some downtime, just reach out to some people, get a chance to know who's on your team, who's in public affairs and what they do, because it's such a large function. And at the time, I was still kind of like, what is public affairs? What is that at Dow? Who are all these people and what are the different things that they do? So when I had free time, I would just reach out to random people, not random per se. I had like a list of folks who I knew I wanted to get a chance to connect with. And I would just send them a message saying, hey, I'm new. I went to CMU. I'm really interested in what you do in your position in the business function, in the corporate function. And I'd just like to learn a bit more. And I would just sit down and talk with them. It was a really easy way for me to put some faces to names because as I stayed at Dow, those were some familiar names that I ended up having to work with on some different project points. It was nice to have that initial introduction just because I was curious versus meeting them as I continued on with my work. I just kind of took a chance, reached out to people because the worst someone's going to say is that they're too busy or they just got to get back to you. So I took the initiative. I was curious and just reached out to some couple folks.
And it really helps to do that and to reach out to a lot of people in different departments within our big overarching department. And not only is it great to take the initiative to do that on your own, but they also kind of push you to do that. And you get a lot of push and a lot of advice from your peers to set up a meeting and chat with this person.
Which is really interesting too, because I think I mentioned earlier that I went to Central Michigan University and there are a couple different alumni who are here at Dow. I was a public relations major there. And so anyone who was in PR at CMU who are in the public affairs department, it was really interesting to see how those roles varied from person to person. You had some people in global citizenship, some people in the corporate side of public affairs, the business side, and what those looked like and how the major that I went through at CMU kind of translated those skills, which helped me understand like, oh, this isn't like a one size fit all thing. So if I get a little tired in one area or I feel like I've learned enough, easy way for me to transition those skills into another department or a different function and my skills can be utilized, which is really good.
And I know you mentioned that your internship was remote and now you actually do still work mainly remote out of Detroit.
I do.
So what kinds of networking events or social events have you been able to attend or even be a part of planning as a remote worker?
I currently live in the Metro Detroit area, even though my home office is officially the Midland offices. Anytime I need to go up in the office, I'll just take that commute. It's no big deal for me, but it is like only a handful of times I'll actually go into the office. Most of the times I do, I make sure I make some plans to connect with people, whether I'm meeting some interns for the first time or people on my team. Recently, I've been working with the brand team for over a year. I think I've met about half of them or three quarters of them so far in person because anytime I know I go up there, I'm like, we need to make sure we get some lunch plans or I just want to meet you in person. So I'm just trying to make sure anytime I have those opportunities, I'm connecting with those folks so I can have a little more personal interactions with them versus just beyond the screen. It's really interesting too because on the brand team, we're working on the anniversary campaign and there's a lot of different events that we're assisting with, specifically like the GLBI. It's really interesting being a virtual employee just coming on last year. I never attended the GLBI, but these are a lot of elements I'm having to learn on the go through either like a lot of information I'm reading on Dow Connect or any articles that people are sharing with me about these events and having to work through that and learn how to plan for these different events that I haven't had a chance to actually go to yet. So it's been a really different experience to say the least. I'm just kind of going with the flow with it and seeing where it takes me. I'm trying to make sure I have more opportunities where I can actually go in the office and interact with a few other folks. And if there's more events that are popping up, I look through like the ERG calendar of like different events or like the volunteer portal. And if there's some opportunities for me, why not meet some more people if I can?
We actually met when you were able to come into the office one day for a lunch with all of us public affairs interns. And I thought it was just like a really sweet opportunity to be able to talk to someone that's around our age and is a little higher up and has made it past that extra step and gone up those extra stairs to get to the next level. I thought it was really nice to be able to have you come in and connect. So I definitely would agree that though working remote, it can be nice to come in every once in a while and get some things figured out and see some faces that aren't on a screen. With your mention of ERGs, are you a part of any ERGs? And if so, what are some things that you've learned or what are some things that might have inspired you from that time?
I'm currently a part of two ERGs. I'm a part of GONE and RISE. GONE is the Global African American Infinity Network, and RISE is for new hires. Those two I just wanted to join because I think I identify the most with, one being a Black woman in corporate America and two being a new hire. I'm just starting my career early on, so I wanted to be able to connect with some additional folks. I just try to make sure I stay up to date with a lot of things that they do in their ERGs. With GONE so far, I've had the opportunity to attend some virtual opportunities, nothing in person yet. But they always reach out saying, hey, we have this. We're looking for people to volunteer their input and ideas. I think someone just reached out about they're doing something for Crown Day, about the Crown Act, which is about wearing your textured hair in the workplace comfortably without there being any citations. And just hearing what your input is. And I think that's really important as a young Black woman myself. I come wherever I am as I am without conforming to any societal standards. So being able to know that there's spaces like that at Dow who care about my voices and my opinions on that, I think is really important. Similar fact with RISE too. I think the new generation of workers, the younger folks who are coming into the workplace, they're bringing different perspectives, which is really interesting to hear other folks my age too, with their experience with being in corporate spaces, just graduating college or figuring things out as they go too. So it feels a little more at ease, especially when you're a younger person on a team of complete experts or like professionals in their career. So sometimes it does feel a bit daunting saying, oh, I'm on a team with people who have this much experience and I just graduated college. But a lot of us have those experiences too and how we feel. So they're definitely very supportive. I appreciate that Dow has them.
We had a big event right as I was onboarding as an intern called Emerge, which is about those employee resource groups. For me, just coming in, it was unbelievable to see how many resource groups that we have within Dow and how many different and important things that they're talking about and they're touching on. And then outside of ERGs, how do you feel supported in Dow's infrastructure just on a general day-to-day basis? I know you do have resource groups, but how do you feel that Dow is also just uplifting you in a more general sense?
I think for me, it's on that day-to-day basis, it comes down to the team that I'm on. They make sure that my input is included in the spaces that we're occupying, which I really appreciate. They make me feel comfortable sharing my ideas, my opinions, and so forth, because sometimes it can be a bit daunting when you have all these professionals who know what they're talking about, or it seems like they know what they're talking about and throwing ideas on the table. You're not quite sure if you fit that space yet, but when your team makes you feel comfortable sharing whatever input you're doing and sharing what you want to say, it just makes me feel a little bit better with the work I'm producing or just how I feel in my work environment too. I don't feel uncomfortable. I don't feel scared to like say what's on my mind. And it helps me a bit be a little more proactive of saying, hey, we could do this instead of waiting for someone to tell you what to do, which can also be something I think some new hires have to navigate to, just getting directions and doing it versus taking the initiative, seeing what can be done and actually going for it and doing it. So for me, my team has been a big contribution for that.
It feels like I've had a short time here and I will have a short summer here. It'll go by really quick, but seeing that support around me, not only in different resource groups and in different groups that I've been able to see, but also just with me and the work that I'm able to do this summer, I have really gotten a taste of the company culture, and I've also gotten a taste of what it might be like to actually work full time here, because it's not just getting people coffees and serving as an assistant here, there, and there. It's really being allowed and being heavily supported in your own projects and your own work,
Right.
which is also why I wanted to do this podcast, and I got a lot of support for it and a lot of initiative, and the same drive that I saw in a lot of my peers that have worked here for a while.
I love that you took the initiative to do this. Yeah, I think this is going to be a great opportunity for people to just hear people's different experiences. Thank you, Christina, for that.
Thank you for coming
flowers.
Very, very exciting stuff. So I know we've talked about a lot of things regarding why DAO and what kind of resources do they have. But to kind of backpedal and go back into what we might have initially talked about, I know you did say you were part of the Public Affairs Development Program and you gave kind of an overview. Would you like to go deeper into that? What is your day-to-day work like?
I have a unique experience coming into DAO as a PADP, seeing that I did my internship on the brand and digital communication team. I was able to do my co-op on that same team, and then transition that to the full-time employment position on the PADP rotation for my first year. If some of you aren't familiar, in the PADP program, it's a 2-year rotation where you do 1 year of corporate communications and then you switch over to a different department and do more so business communications. So I'm still in my corporate communications rotation. Because I was able to do my internship and co-op before I started on the team, I have a little more background knowledge with the brand team, branding for DAO, the guidelines, and so on and so forth. And so it was really interesting too, because last year was the start of the planning process for our anniversary campaign. So I was kind of able to see all of that manifest, because when you're in college, you maybe as a public relations student, you do all these projects about planning for campaigns and small things that you present for your class, but actually being able to see that on a full scale Fortune 500 company who's celebrating this historic milestone and seeing how that all plans out and being able to assist with that, I feel like that was a pretty unique experience for me. So when I started my rotation in January back on the brand team, I was able to assist with the events and celebrations portion of our anniversary campaign. So that kind of includes some of the merchandise we might have on the DAO Gear store, assisting with the designs of that, making sure it's aligning with the DAO brand, assisting with reaching out to regional local points to make sure their events and celebrations for the anniversary are following any guidelines, or if they need any assistance, I kind of assist with another co-lead on that. And I think that was a pretty cool opportunity too, because I'm just a girl from Detroit who's barely left Michigan a little bit, and being able to communicate with people all across the globe, Latin America, Europe, Middle East. I thought that was a really cool opportunity for me to do, especially assisting with them putting on some of their events or the guidance for that. And then also I'm assisting with some of our day-to-day brand stuff that we have too, because it is the anniversary year. So a lot of our focus on the brand team is going towards that, but we do have our brand center stuff that we have. So if people have questions related to our guidelines or just brand practices, I assist with answering some of those questions. And then also any content that we have on the brand center in regards to it needing to be updated, uploaded, or any changes that we're currently having with that. So I am assisting in leading one of those projects, which is kind of exciting, a little daunting, but exciting for the most part, that they are giving me this opportunity to do something that big. It's a good amount of work compared to the internship to the PADP. The internship, you're going to get some nice viable opportunities to do some projects. The PADP program is a bit of a step up compared to the internship and the amount of responsibility and work that you're going to be doing. But I love it all. I can't complain.
A lot of the work that you're able to do is something that is not only within the internal part of the company, but it's also external and worldwide. Even as interns, we still touch a little bit of worldwide. stuff, but taking that next level step into a development program, whether it be an HR development program, public affairs development program, or maybe an apprenticeship over in the plant, that next step, whichever it might be, is going to allow you to really touch that whole worldwide DAO scale and really get a good understanding of just how big DAO is and has become. Let me just ask you this really quick. What's something that makes you excited to log into work every day?
It's something new that I'm doing each day. It doesn't feel like I'm doing the same things. So I get excited to see what the new opportunity is for me to either figure out a problem or assist with something. So I appreciate the diversity in the work that I do.
That kind of goes for everyone that I've heard. There's a lot of diversity in what you do. And I'm always excited to wake up and come in because I do have a set schedule, but sometimes you never know where you're going to get pulled. But it's always something that you want to do, something new. So it's really fun. And I'm glad to hear that there is something that excites you every single day to come into DAO because it's something that I really value as someone in the beginnings of their career path. And I'm sure it's something that you value as well as you begin your career is excitement and freshness and newness.
You should wake up and be happy to do the work, not dreading, I have to go to work for 5 days this week. I don't want to go through it. That's not a fun thing to have. As long as you're feeling excited about your work, you're going to have a good career moving forward.
Yeah, and you do. You definitely do. Thank you to my listeners for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed Naya's story. Feel free to share this podcast with friends and family and tune in to the next episode. Thank you so much to our guest, Naya, for coming on and chatting with us today.
Thank you so much, Christina. I really appreciated this conversation. I think it's going to bring some insight for a lot of folks who are curious about that transition from intern to PADP. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, Naya Hodges, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you for having me.
And thank you. We'll be back with another episode of Intern Insights soon.